So Justin, let me ask you, I mean, people have the option of working for a big company or working for a startup. What would you say are the pros and cons of doing a startup versus staying at a big company?
Well, first of all, you should come work for me. I've never really worked at a big company, so to address the last question, actually, I think the best time to start a startup is when you have no job and no money, like no experience, because then you don't even know what the downside is. I just started a company in college. My first company was started like when we were graduating from college, and we just decided to forgo getting a job and just kind of grind it out, and lived off like $800 a month for like over a year. And that sucked, but we didn't know what it would be like to be getting paid. So, but I think the difference from what I see between working at a big company and working at a startup is at a big company, it's a lot easier mentally. Like you can just sit there and someone else is going to take care of pretty much everything for you, except for like one narrow slice. All you have to do is like do one thing well enough not to get fired. And you can collect, in Silicon Valley, you can collect a pretty nice paycheck. If you're an engineer, you can go out and get a high six-figure salary right now, tomorrow, and it's pretty nice. Like I have a lot of friends who like that. And starting a company is like pretty terrible in a lot of ways. You have to like worry that you're doing the wrong thing every day, grinding it out for years, not making any money, like all the pressure for all the success of it in every category, every department is on you. Like, is the engineering going to work? Is the marketing going to work? Is product the right product? And that sucks. So you should only really do that if you really, really, I think the upside is, well, there's obviously a high financial upside, and if you're one of the lucky few, I would only do it if you like just can't imagine not doing it, or like staying in your current circumstance. Like if there's an idea that you're so passionate about that you can't stop thinking about it, and you just, then that's probably the right time. But otherwise, working at big companies is awesome. Sounds awesome. But I would never want to do it. I would never want to do it because I like just, if you make something that people like and they use, that's one of the best feelings, when you're like winning, when you see people using your product, that's awesome, You don't get that. I think that's, rarer. There's some of that at big companies, but it's always a team effort. There's always like a lot of red tape between making that your ideas and like seeing them happen. And for me as an entrepreneur, I can like go in the office and say like, no, we're going to do this tomorrow, and you don't want to do that too many times because it's people get scared. But you can do it once or twice. That's cool.
Anybody have something to add to that?
Yeah, I want to add to the points that we don't want to scare you guys from it because everyone says doing startup is hard. It is hard, right? But what makes it easier? I sit over at the lunch table and just say, what gives you the courage to try? Well, one thing you don't know any better at a certain time, because I think that's a great reason, and that's why a lot of people are very successful, because, there's an old saying, what you don't know can hurt you. It's true to some extent. But what I'm thinking about is, find something that you're really passionate, not a great idea. Find something you're passionate about it. You say, even if you don't do it for money, you would have done it anyway. So to me, that's just the key. Because you're going to go there, you spend 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day working it, but it doesn't seem like work because you're just playing, right? You're just hanging out with your buddies, you're pursuing your idea, and then when you put into the market and you see people say, wow, this is exactly what I need, what I want, that's just going to rock your world, right? So I think if you pursue something you really believe in, you're passionate about it, I think that's coming from there, because even you fail, you learn so much, and you enjoy every day in the process of doing it. And besides, my philosophy, you can't be stuck at something that you're passionate about it, you spend 8 to 12 hours about it, because after a while you become an expert in that and better than anyone else at it. And that's just my perspective.
All right, yeah, I want to just add, everything is hard. I think starting a company is hard, working at a large company is hard. I mean, it's also hard to wake up every morning and not be doing something you love. You know, it's not. It's really all about passion. So it's always hard. I think starting a company is definitely going to take up more time. To me, it's, you know, when I look at entrepreneurs that have succeeded, it's all around what resources they can bring around them, and you know, do they have the ability to do that and get resources that can build a successful business. And you can start a startup, and a startup is very different from just starting a business. You know, we of course invest in startups, we invest in dreams, we invest in people that want to change the world. And if you think about it from a resource standpoint, that's why you might want to work at a large company, because you know, businesses are built some on passion alone, where you can, you know, corral enough people that are interested in supporting your vision, hire enough really great people around you because they believe in what you want to do, or because you've worked at a large company, you've seen some inefficiencies in the system, you know how the industry works, and you know how to actually optimize it and create something that can fit the industry better, or you just want to build a business as a lifestyle business, and that's a fine startup to have as well. So it's really what you want out of it, and I think, you know, if you think about it from a resource standpoint, at which point in your life do you have the right resources to do something? It's always right now, you know. And I definitely say go start a company, because you know, why help somebody else's dreams materialize if you have one yourself?
Yeah, specifically, I guess for me, like one of the most gratifying moments for, like, you know, for doing a startup is like when somebody comes up to me and they say, oh, okay, I've used your product before, I've heard of it, I've enjoyed it. You know, even if, you know, some of my earlier startups where the site is long gone, you know, as far as I can tell, no one knows about it anymore. But to occasionally meet people who have said they've used it, I think is kind of incomparable.
Well, I was planning to defer this question to the entrepreneurs who are living this every day, but just Jonathan touched on a point that I myself experienced a year ago as I transitioned from Salesforce to the venture world. And one is sort of, it doesn't need to be an either-or situation. There's also things you can bring from your experience in the large organization. Either it's an inefficiency you've seen and you say, oh, aha, I have the market pain point, I know what I'm going to go after. Or, frankly, your company is probably doing well because it does something right. So you can learn from that as well. You know, at Salesforce.com, it is an impressive sales and marketing machine. I don't know that there's another company out in the world that's doing it better. So why not take that, roll that forward, and use that for your own company as well. So, thanks.
Great, thanks guys. So, you know, I think we're fortunate to be, you know, here in Silicon Valley, right, which is kind of the epicenter of the startup ecosystem. And so there's a lot of, you know, benefits of being here. There could be maybe some drawbacks compared to, you know, other parts of the world. I'd love to get your perspective in terms of, you know, what makes Silicon Valley special for entrepreneurs. You know, what are some of the best things that you can get from being here, starting a business here in Silicon Valley? John, maybe you can.
Sure. And talk about that. I spent a year in New York trying to live there and trying to work there. You know, and we just talked about this earlier, smaller group. Every region breeds a certain kind of company. It's all dependent on, back to that resource question, what you can bring around the growth. You know, it's like you don't grow a coconut tree on a slope of a temperate mountain or something like that. So the same thing, I think Silicon Valley lends itself to having this really interesting ecosystem of really great entrepreneurs. You have capital that understands, you know, what those entrepreneurs need. You have the entire support industry that we would never be able to build companies without. You know, you have the folks that provide all the legal advice. We have the folks that provide all the banking needs of these startups. And you don't find it anywhere in such depth anywhere else in the world. I mean, you go to New York, they are serving 6 different industries, whether it's media, finance, fashion, etc. So in Silicon Valley, if you're building a company that's really going after these deferred kind of gains to some extent, you know, we talk about building a product that everybody likes, or going after something that will take 10 years before, or 5 to 10 years before you actually start to see the product materialize in a meaningful way. This is the most patient place for you to be building that in, right? And you want that support. I think what we do lack here is a real keen understanding of content. So you think about a place like LA understands content. And right now, with a lot of companies, you know, we've built all the platforms, and what actually encourages interactions on these platforms is always content. And we find that content in LA, so you get some of that there. You get more design expertise in places like LA. You get a lot of verticalized knowledge in places like New York, you know, regional expertise in places like China, etc. So depending on where or what kind of business you want to build, always just think about what resources you're going to need to get to scale. I think if you're talking about building a media company, or even a sales and marketing organization in the media space, you probably, that if the sales force in media is your largest leverage point, you probably want to do that in New York. You know, and because leverage, we've spent, as technologists, all of us here as technologists, all of you guys, we've spent the last 15 years building up technology for technologists. And now we've compartmentalized it, we've made it so consumerable that anywhere else in the world we can build a tech company without actually needing to understand the nitty-gritty of it. So, I've spoken a lot, so